Before we start, I would like you to hit that red subscribe button so that you never miss out on any of our videos. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Beyond Crazy. Number 5. Mithridates, 401 BC. Mithridates killed Cyrus, the younger brother of Artaxerxes II, in battle in 404 BC. Plutarch states that Artaxerxes was very pleased Cyrus was dead and gave Mithridates lavish gifts and asked him to keep everything a secret so the king could claim he had killed Cyrus. Mithridates got drunk at a feast and boasted of Cyrus's death by his own hand. When Artaxerxes heard this, he was so infuriated that he ordered Mithridates executed as follows. 2 canoes were carved so they would fit together, and into one, Mithridates was laid naked and smeared head to toe with milk and honey. He was forced to drink it some as well. Then the other boat was secured over him so that his hands, feet, and head protruded. In this state, he was left moored in a lake 4 days. Flying insects found him and began consuming the milk and honey all over his body, biting and stinging as they did so. The next day, the top boat was removed, and he was again smeared with milk and honey and forced to eat more, then left floating in the lake. Number 4. The brothers D'Aunay, 1314. Gautier and Philip of Aunay were 2 knights of the French court of Philip IV. In 1313, Philip's daughter, Queen Isabella of England, gave embroidered purses to her brothers, Louis and Charles, and their wives, Blanche and Margaret. Later that year, she and King Edward II held a large banquet in London for their French guests. Isabella noticed that the purses she had given Blanche and Margaret were being carried by the brothers D'Aunay. Isabella suspected her 2 sisters-in-law were having illicit affairs and told her father the next year. He placed the 2 brothers under surveillance. The knights tended to come and go often at the Tour de Nesle and Partian Guard Tower built by Philip II. The whole incident became known as the Tour de Nesle affair. Philip eventually announced the adultery in public and had the men and women arrested. Blanche and Margaret were found guilty. Their heads were shaved and they were imprisoned for life. Gautier and Philip of Aunay were tortured into confessing their guilt and subsequently executed for the crime of lèse majesté, that is, to do wrong to majesty. This was seen as an extremely offensive form of treason requiring the severest punishment. Accordingly, the brothers were castrated and their genitals thrown to dogs. Then they were filleted alive, suffered molten lead and sulfur poured into their exposed flesh, broken out a wheel, and finally beheaded. Number 3. The Alcide Melik, 1705. Melik was a governor alcide under the Sultan of Morocco, Moulay Ismail ben Sherif. In 1705, one of the Sultan's sons, Moulay Muhammad, attempted a rebellion led by Melik, among others. Once the rebellion was put down, Melik was deemed most responsible and deserved extreme punishment. The Sultan's wife was furious that Melik had beheaded one of her cousins, Ali Boushazra. Thus, in September or October, Moulay Ismail asked his chief carpenter if his saws were capable of cutting a person in half, and the carpenter replied that they were. The carpenter was then given the job of executioner. He asked whether Melik should be sawed in half sagittally along the spine or transversely across the waist. 2. Jan van Leyden, Bernhard Kretsching, and Bernhard Knipperdolling, 1536. These 3 men were ringleaders in the Munster Rebellion. They attempted to overthrow the Catholic hegemony in favor of Anabaptist Protestantism in Germany. They kicked the Bishop Mayor Franz von Waldeck out of the city. He immediately assembled a mercenary army and laid siege. The Protestants were led by Jan Mathis until he was killed outside the city walls. The siege lasted over a year, and most of the residents were starving as a result. On June 24, 1535, Waldeck's army finally broke through the walls and retook control. Knipperdolling and Kretsching were apprehended immediately. Jan was found hiding in the basement. On January 22, 1536, they were taken up onto a makeshift platform in the market square, tied to an iron stake and fitted with iron collars so they could not move. Iron tongs were then heated until red hot. 1. Balthazar Gerard, 1584, Philip of Spain placed a bounty on the head of Dutch Prince William. On June 10, 1584, after dinner in his home, William went downstairs where Jared suddenly stepped out, fired one of two wheel-lock pistols at William's chest. He collapsed and died on the spot, and Jared fled, but he tripped over some rubbish and was caught. He did not deny his actions and was tried and found guilty. The court ordered that Jared be tortured for 3 days. On the first, he was hung with his hand tied behind him on a pole and raised and dropped, dislocating his shoulders. Then he was flogged with a bullwhip. The wounds were smeared with honey, and the goat was brought to lick them with its rough tongue, but it would not approach, so his wounds were rubbed with salt. The next day, he was hung on the pole again, and 300-pound weights were tied to each of his big toes for 30 minutes. This brings us to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our videos in the future. Also watch the 2 videos that are on your screen because I'm sure you love them. With that, I'll see you in the next video.